feeling stuck in your career, you're not alone and you're not doing anything wrong. In season 2 of UnCeiling You, we're diving into the invisible forces that hold women back professionally, starting with the hidden barriers we never even knew we were playing against. Now we're shifting gears into part 2, challenging societal expectations. It's time to stop playing not to lose and start playing to win. Because here's the truth. Most of us were taught to play it safe. But what are we actually staying safe from? And what is it costing us? If you've ever stayed silent in a meeting when you had a great idea, waited to be noticed instead of asking for the raise, or felt like you didn't belong at the table, this episode is for you. You'll learn why playing it safe leads to stagnation and how to break free. How to read a room without shrinking yourself. The exact mindset shift that transforms assertiveness from a liability into a leadership strategy. And this season, you're not just listening, you're joining a movement, a community of ambitious, thoughtful, bold women and allies who are ready to stop settling and start leading. Because everyone is playing poker, even if they've never touched a deck of cards. This episode unpacks it all through the powerful lens of strategic risk, power dynamics, and self-worth. And who better to guide us than our guest, Ellen Leikind, entrepreneur, author, and founder of Poker Divas. A former senior marketing exec who's helped launch over $1 billion in products, Ellen now helps women win in business and in life using the bold strategies of poker, even if they've never played the game. She's been featured in Forbes, CNBC, and Success Magazine. And now, she's right here with us, helping you take your seat at the table. Tap to listen, because your next bold move starts now. And if this episode hits home, share it. Talk about it. You're not stuck. You're just one power play away from shifting everything. Welcome to Season 2, Part 2 of UnCeiling You. Let's go all in.
Hi, Ellen. Thank you so much for being on this UnCeiling You. I really appreciate you being here. And so let's just get right into it. We're told to play it safe, but safe from what? And what does that even mean in a game like poker or even in our careers? So here's my main question. What does playing it safe actually mean in the workplace? And how does that concept show up at the poker table?
Well, great question. The whole concept of playing it safe is really playing not to lose as opposed to playing to win. And that's a big concept that I talk a lot about, that playing to win as opposed to avoid losing. So if you are playing it safe, you're not really worried about your big win. You're not worried about the promotion. You're not worried about getting more money. You're not worried about getting more of what you want. You're more interested in maintaining the status quo and sort of taking a wait and see approach. And that approach, which is very passive, is not going to get you what you want. That's playing it safe. But when you think about it, that's really very dangerous, because that's when we really settle.
Exactly. So what are the hidden costs of playing it safe, both in poker and in the professional life? And when's the right moment to take that bold bet?
Okay. Well, at the poker table, if you play not to lose, if you're playing in a tournament, you'll survive the tournament. You may not be knocked out first, but you're certainly not making it to the final table. So when I first started, that's what I did. I was in this play not to lose mode. And because it prevents any embarrassment, because you're not really trying. So if you fail, it's not embarrassing. It prevents you from seeing, too aggressive, which is an issue that people often have with women, unfortunately. So that's really, it's not really taking any risk when you're playing cards, right? So if you never take a risk, you're not getting rewarded. I assure you, you're not winning a poker tournament without taking some sort of, making a big move and going all in.
Right.
Now, from a professional level, we know what that means. We know it means less money, less promotion, less of visibility, less influence, less of what you want.
Yeah. And so there you go. And so what game are you really playing if you're just doing less, just sitting and waiting and seeing and taking direction and not speaking up? We've said that everyone is playing poker, even if they're never touched a deck of cards. And that suggests that we're all navigating this invisible game. And so what are some of the biggest games women don't realize they're playing at work? And how can they recognize that they need to take some risks in order to change the outcome?
Yeah, you raise, we've been playing poker our whole lives, even if we've never played a hand of cards. That's the first line of my book, Poker Woman, How to Win in Love, Life, and Business Using the Principles of Poker. And it's true. And the game is this. The game is people and office politics. Mm-hmm. That's really the game. And people minimize the importance of the team, so to speak. Who's in charge? Who's the one that's going to give you the promotion? Who's going to give you more money? Who's going to give you what you want? I always thought that it was, if you work hard and you're good, you get it. And I learned very quickly that wasn't the case when I did not get a promotion where I was the most qualified. I was there, had the most seniority, and I had the most to offer. And I remember going to my boss at the time. There were a few of us up for consideration. I was sure I got it, but I wanted to make sure. And I went to my boss at the time and I said, do you think I'm going to get the promotion? And she looked at me and she said, did you ask for it? And when she said that, I hated her. I hated her from that very moment. And it took me years to figure out it's the best piece of advice I ever got. So understanding the people, you have to go to the people. You have to make sure they know who you are, what you've done. You can brag away. It's okay. I know a lot of us have like this nice girl syndrome where we don't want people to think that we're overly aggressive or we talk too much about ourselves. But if you take that approach, you're not navigating the people. And the people is where the games are. The corporate politics, who's in office, who's in charge, is going to determine a lot of the outcome of your success. And understanding that it's a people game and not just an intelligence game, that's critical.
Right. So, and I love the story that you just told about you didn't ask in the first place. Is there another moment when either you or someone you were working with realized that they were in a game and they had to use that awareness to shift the power strategy?
Many, many times. But I can tell you one of my clients, it was an attorney. She was an associate in a law firm. And she was one of the top stars. Her performance reviews were always good. And everyone told her how great she was. And she wasn't getting promoted to partner. And she finally realized it wasn't up to her boss. It was up to her boss's boss. So she made sure to get some face time with her. Give the opportunity to say, I've done this. The person didn't know. They didn't know her well enough.
Right.
And she took a chance. Her boss could have gotten mad about it. Her boss's boss could have, said, not interested. But she didn't say that. And about a year later, she got her partnership.
Yeah. So there you go. It's about making sure not only that you're talking about your success and what you've done and what you bring to the table, but it's also about making sure you know who's making those decisions and getting to know those people as well. That had to be kind of scary for her, was it?
It was scary for her because she there's certain people that just aren't, and a lot of them are women, myself included, we're just not raised like that. We're not taught that from the very beginning. Go in and ask. It's okay if somebody doesn't love you. They don't have to like you a lot. They have to respect you. They have to know what you do. They have to know about you. It's not a popularity contest. It certainly helps that people like you. Don't get me wrong, because it's a people game. But you can't worry about offending people if you're doing what's best for you.
Right. This is just coming to me, and I feel like I need to bring it up. Going back to office politics, I often find too that in office politics, when you do bring yourself forward, when you are talking to other people, there are people who get a little bristly and start to play a game with you. And I kind of, in my head, think about it as a pissing contest. Like all of a sudden, they feel competitive towards you. How do you deal with that in poker and also in office politics?
Well, that's an interesting point. And that's why it's so important to know the kind of person you're dealing with before you go in and you ask. Because we talk about this in our sessions. There's 4 kind of personalities. You've got an ultra aggressor who is really a bully, who's they're messing with your head. They are going to do anything they can to trash. In poker, we call it trash talk. They mess with your head to throw you off your game. And then you're going to have somebody who is aggressive but fair. If you feed them the facts, they get it. And then you have the other person, we call them the calling station. They are people pleasers. They want to make everybody happy. Okay, so there's different kinds of players. Now, if you're dealing with that ultra aggressive, who you're just referring to, that is making it a pissing match, you have to know that going in. And the best way to do it is have your facts very, very buttoned up. And when they try to deter you, you have to acknowledge what they say. They like to be acknowledged. They have big egos. And then get back on track with what your strategy is. Now, if they're yelling or screaming or being a little bit out of this world, so to speak, you can't hit back the same way, because you're going to wind up in a big pissing match, to your point.
Yeah.
So you have to just keep bringing them back. And it doesn't work the first time always. Sometimes it doesn't work at all. But you can get it to work by understanding the different people that you're up against. And that's why I say personality is really the game. And you're not going to handle that person like you handle a person who wants peace and is a team player. You're going to handle them totally differently.
Right. It's kind of interesting because I've never been in a pissing contest, but apparently it happens in colleges all the time. And my husband gave me a clue. He said there's two different types of pissing contests. There's one where you go for time, and there's one that you go for distance. And you have to know what kind of contest you're in. And if it's for distance, that means that all that piss goes out all at once, and you go for as far as you can. You hit as far as you can. And then the other one is for time, where you are just trying to let a little bit out, and it's whoever lasts the longest. And to me, that really makes a huge difference in the dealing with office politics, because I'm thinking to myself, hey, if I'm dealing with someone who wants to go for distance, I probably need to get some people to join me in this contest, back me up. But if someone is going for time, man, I can go as long as you possibly want, because I'm going to last.
Good. So there you go. I mean, that's part of the game.
Yeah.
Knowing who you're playing with. The poker table's the same way. You're going to play the same hand differently against different people based on their personality types.
Yeah, there you go. And I think it's helpful to know that there's different personality types and you're going to handle them different. So, and so when you're dealing with that person that's very aggressive, you're going to have to be assertive. You're going to have to be assertive in stepping up and saying, hey, this is what I want. It's what I deserve. It's what I'm worth. You need to give me what I'm worthy of. But assertiveness often gets women labeled as too much, while passivity kind of gets them overlooked. So here's the question. How can women reframe assertiveness, not as a liability, but as a leadership strategy?
It's not easy, but it's doable. So again, it starts with us. It starts by us getting comfortable saying, okay, I am allowed to do this. That's the first thing. Right. And getting it, mindset. Poker is a mindset game, much like many things that we do. I mean, it's about cards. It's certainly about people, but it's also about mindset. You have to go in there, whether you're at a poker table or a negotiating table, you have to go in there saying, I'm good. I can do this. I can win it. That's the first thing. There is a difference between being persistent and being overly aggressive. And by coming forward and saying, this is what I've done, this is what I want, and this is what I deserve, you can do that in a way that's not aggressive. Now, having said that, some people will think that anytime a woman asks for something, she's aggressive. Mm-hmm. I just saw something the other day that said that in performance reviews, over 80% of women have something negative said and only about 10% of men. I don't have the statistics perfect, but it's a pretty big disparity. That's interesting. I know when I worked, especially when I worked for men earlier in my career, there was never a performance review that said that I wasn't, they didn't use the word aggressive, but that I was too focused on myself, which is another way of saying she asked for what she wanted.
Right.
So, yeah.
Go continue.
So it starts in your head, and there is science that shows that if women are too aggressive, both men and women don't know how to deal with it. You think about it. Guys go beat each other up in a park, and then they go out for a beer. That, right? They do that. Yeah. Women don't do that. Somebody says something catty or that we feel is catty, I should say, and the relationship deteriorates. It's a different. Even women with women don't like over aggression. So it could just be the delivery. That it's not necessarily what you say, it's how you say it. And you just have to keep going back in. You have to keep persisting. And sometimes you'll win it and sometimes you won't. Sometimes, you have to say, I'm not getting it. We have another client, another attorney. We work with a lot of attorneys. I work with a lot of attorneys. And they asked for partnership 3 times over 3 years. And they just finally said, after the 4th try, said, I'm leaving. I'm not getting it. So you have to know when to get out.
There you go. When to fold.
Kenny Rogers was a genius. That song is like, if you just listen to that song, you can understand the way to navigate your professional life.
Right. So, and we're talking about this mindset shift where we have to have that mindset that pushes past that guilt or that fear of asking. And it also shows up when we're asking for more boundaries or holding firm to boundaries. Can you say more about that?
Well, I really think it's the same thing. I think that you first identify your boundaries, know what they are. So you have a very specific, you can go in and you can be very clear with where your boundaries are. Mm-hmm. The only way you can be clear is if you know what you're looking for. And that is just the way to start. And it's your pushback. As an example, if somebody asks you to stay late because you're the only single person on the team and you can't stay late, you have to say, I can't stay late. Next time, I'll be happy to help. Give me some notice. You have to say it out loud. And again, not everybody's going to respond well to it. And that's okay. That's okay. They don't have to fully embrace it. And they're not always going to say yes. But you have to put it out there. And you have to keep consistency. You have to consistently put the same message out there.
Right. Now, you were talking about the associate attorney asking to become partner, asking 3 times. And at the 4th, they're like, okay, it's time to fold. And so you teach people to know when to bluff, to fold, or to go all in. And these are during high stakes decisions, all the time. So how can women apply the poker strategy during these tough moments? It could be staying late, or it could be, hey, I want partnership. Or salary negotiations. How do you apply that poker strategy, the bluff, everything like that in these situations?
I will have to talk about bluffing for a second. So remember, in poker, when you bluff, you're totally lying. You're being deceitful. So we're not going to do that at work. We have to be very careful to make that distinction. Good. So when we're bluffing, we're not lying because our reputations are on the line. So that's, I'm not telling you to lie. However, I'll give you an example. You are applying for a job and you can do something at 70% capacity and you can do what they're asking for. It's fine to say you can do it. You don't have to be at 100%. You are looking for a raise or a promotion and you've been talking to a lot of people that are interested in you. If it doesn't go your way, you have outs. It's okay to say, you know what? I have something else. Can you accommodate me or I'm leaving? Yeah. As long as you're going to leave.
Right.
And remember this, you have to bluff when you're in a position of strength, so to speak. You have to have something as a backup. You have to, be ready to leave. Mm-hmm. You have to have something as a plan B. Mm-hmm. You can't go in and bluff and ask for more at a time where the company's doing very badly or you just lost a client. You have to bluff at the right time.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying the perfect time because there is no perfect time. But choose your moments. And that's part of the bluff, so to speak, choosing the right moment. And you have to be ready to act on it.
Right. There you go. And especially ready to act. Don't be foolish, for sure.
Right. People don't quit out. I'm not saying walk into your boss, say, if I don't get promoted, I'm leaving, walk out the door and, have no prospects for a job for 2 years. I'm not saying that at all.
Yeah, would be.
That's why it's so important to network, to socialize, to connect with people. And again, that's the game. It's the people game. I keep sending it back to people. And it sounds so obvious. And it took me forever to realize that because I was always wondering, I'm better than this one. I'm better than this one. I'm not getting promoted. And this one who just got promoted really couldn't run circles around me. Why? Right. Because the person above them felt comfortable with them. They liked them. And they were going to navigate their agenda. See, that's another. I'm going to give you an example. When I was in corporate America, I'm an innovator. So if I had a boss that wanted to rule the world and do new and different things, they loved me. If I had a boss who just wanted to maintain the status quo, they didn't want me on their team.
Right.
So one person thinks I'm a superstar and one person doesn't want me and I'm doing the same job. So that's the importance. That's an example of the importance of navigating the people. And if you can align with the people like that, great. Mm-hmm. But if you can't, and sometimes you're at the wrong table. The reality is you should not be at that table. Yet you know that you get up and you move. You get your plan together and you get up and you move.
There you go. I like that.
right?
So, can you also share a story where you or someone you coached went all in and made a really bold impact?
Yes, there was a lot of them. It was a woman at an accounting firm, and she had similar. I guess everybody wants to be a partner. She also wanted to be a partner, and she had a lot of good clients. She had some really really good clients, but she had a boss that just did not. For some reason, it wasn't a connect. And she went in and she said, "If I don't get this managing partner, I'm leaving. And these clients are going to follow me." And it was scary to do that because she didn't know that they would. She thought that they would, but she didn't know what they would. And she got it. She got it. It was a bit of a bluff. Well, it wasn't a lie because she had very long-term relationships with them. But that's what happened.
There you go. So the other question is about reading the table without really shrinking yourself. Because I know I've experienced being at the table and saying, holy cow, what am I doing here? These people are so amazing. And I didn't see my own amazement. And one of your superpowers is teaching people how to read the table, to sense the power dynamics and read the room. Eventually, I did understand the power dynamics and what I added to the table. But can you talk a little bit about how does learning to read people change the way women show up in rooms where they may be underestimating themselves or underestimated, period?
Yeah, that is a loaded question with so much going on there, Natalie. But let me try to take it. Let me try to take what I can. So, in terms of underestimating yourself, that's the thing you can control the most. So, if you go in, you just remember you belong at the table, regardless. And yes, you may be the most junior person at the table, but that doesn't mean that the person next to you is any smarter than you. I mean, the reality is they may not be. People make themselves experts. Think about that. People make themselves experts. I went to see Donnie Deutsch. I think Donnie Deutsch is a great speaker. And he talked about how when he was once asked to be on a show and talk about politics, he thought to himself, I don't know anything about politics. But he went on anyway. And then everybody kept calling him to talk about politics. And now he became a political expert doing that. You know what I'm saying? And that I never forgot that story because you do it once, you do it again, now you're as good as everybody else. So if you come in with the attitude, you will not underestimate yourself. People talk about imposter syndrome, and we all know about that. But the best way to get through that is to just know you're as good as everybody at the table. And if you're not as better than some of them, you will be soon. You can be soon. And just take your seat and don't shy away in the corner. Sit in the middle of the table if you can. You don't want to speak at the beginning, don't speak at the beginning. Listen. But don't be afraid to speak up. One of the worst things that used to happen to me is I would come up with an idea and I'm like, I don't think that's a very good idea. And boom, somebody said it 10 minutes later and everybody said, oh, that's a great idea. I was like, damn, I should have said it.
Yeah.
And then it reversed. As I got more confident, I would say the idea. Maybe somebody wouldn't respond. And then a guy 10 minutes later would repeat my idea. And they'd say, oh, that's a great idea. And I'd have to say, I'm glad I thought of it. So, it's unfortunately it's not a perfect puzzle, but it's just really a lot of it is mind. I know that seems obvious, but a lot of it is in your head. I also when we had a lot of meetings and conference rooms pre-COVID, I remember they'd have seats on the perimeter of the room, and then there'd be seats at the table. And your first instinct is go to sit in the back because you don't belong at the table. Go sit at the table.
Yeah, and take up some space while you're at it.
And don't wait for an invitation.
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it.
So how do you teach your clients how to balance reading others without losing authenticity? Like maybe they start to change what they're going to say just by a look on someone's face or even playing small.
Well, changing what you say based on look on someone's face, I don't think necessarily is a bad thing. Because nonverbal cues, 80% of how people perceive us is nonverbal. It's not the words. It's our posture. It's, as you were talking about before, taking up physical space. It's the tone of which we speak, the pace at which we speak. That's how people are judging us. So if you're paying attention to these nonverbal cues, you will learn a lot about people. So if you're talking to somebody and they're disengaged, it's okay to change what you're talking about to re-engage them. If you see a clear message that they're not agreeing with you in the least bit, it's okay to massage it a little bit. You don't have to lie about it, of course. And if it's totally out of your range of comfort, you're not going to do it anyway in terms of authenticity. But read the person. Use those nonverbal cues as an advantage.
I love it. So can you talk a little bit about your book and your courses and how the kind of impact that you've heard people make as a result of being in your courses and also your book?
Yeah, the impact of using poker strategy in business and in life is so unbelievable. And I love getting emails and hearing people have come through the course a few times tell me, it's made them understand others better. It's made them much more bold. It's really about being bold and believing in yourself. And I know that sounds very Pollyanna-ish, but there's a lot to it. Your mind controls a lot. And the way you perceive yourself influences how people perceive you. So people have gotten promotions, people have left jobs, people have gone off and done their own thing, traveled the world, written books. So, everybody's win is a different. I talk about playing to win, but not everybody's playing to be the CEO. Not everybody wants to rule the world. Some people want to have a job where that pays the bills, and then it gives them flexibility and free time to do everything else they love. Some people do want to be the CEO. Some people, everybody's win is different. So knowing what your win is a key thing. I love hearing whether it's getting a new job, moving within an organization, getting more money, having more resources at work, whatever it is, there's a lot of wins out there. We had somebody that she said, you know what? I never thought I could write a book because I never thought of myself as an author. Took her a few years, but she wrote a book, and that's she's always wanted to do it.
I love that.
Yeah. So the course is a negotiation course, and it's the key to this course. It's negotiating for yourself, because we are so good at negotiating for everybody else but ourselves. I have attorneys in these courses who charge 4 figures an hour, and they're negotiating multi-million-dollar deals for others, and they can't ask for themselves. So
it makes me feel better.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? It's really remarkable. And so our negotiation course, it's a 4-week program, teaches you how to negotiate for yourself. It's called the BOLD system. And really it came out of need, because when we did our big corporate events, people would come up and say, I learned so much about negotiation tonight, but I want to learn more. So that's how the course was created. And then I just relaunched my book last year, Poker Woman: How to Win in Love, Life, and Business Using the Principles of Poker. I'm sure you have a male audience. Believe me, the book is for everybody. And it's real life stories on how to use these principles to get what you want in life and business. And I want to bring up one thing that I haven't brought up before. In poker, you need to learn to be the bettor, BETTOR, because the bettor is the one that takes the initiative, raises their hands, and says, this is what it costs to pay to play with me. And when you are playing poker, the bettor is the one that's going to win. If you're the caller and you just sort of take a wait and see approach and do what everybody else does and hope you get lucky, you're not going to be the winner.
That is interesting. Where can people find your book and find your course?
Okay, the book is on Amazon, but make sure you get the latest edition with the blue and pink cover, not the older edition, because it's a new edition with a lot more information. And the course is called the BOLD System Program. And you can find that online. And if you go to pokerdivas.com, POKERDIVAS, you can also, there's a tab there, you can get the negotiation course. Our next course starts in June.
Very nice. Any other lasting pieces of information that you would like to share?
I think the biggest thing that I would tell you to do is bet on yourself, because you are what you can control, and you have to believe in you for everybody else to believe in you. You are your best bet.
I love that. With that statement, I think we will drop the mic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Natalie.
You are your best bet. That's the mic drop moment from today's episode. And if you take only one thing with you, let it be this. Playing it safe might feel comfortable, but it's rarely where the growth is. We've been taught to stay small, wait our turn, not be too much. But today, Ellen reminded us that not asking is a decision, that navigating people, not just tasks, is how you change your outcome. Remember, Visibility isn't vanity. It's strategy. And poker? It's not just a game. It's a blueprint for learning how to bet on yourself with confidence, clarity, and courage. And now, as we turn the page to the next part of Season 2, we go even deeper. We've just finished exploring hidden barriers. Now we're challenging societal expectations head on. In our next episode, you'll meet Anna Tursic. Anna followed every rule: degree, leadership role, six-figure job, but still felt stuck. Then she made a radical choice. She left corporate America to pour candles, literally. And in doing so, she found freedom, joy, and success on her own terms. Her story is for anyone who's ever thought, I did everything right. So why doesn't it feel right? She'll talk about leaving the guilt behind when you choose joy, rewriting what success looks like, especially as a first-gen or immigrant kid, and how one viral moment on TikTok cracked open the door to a whole new life. So if you've ever looked around and thought, is this it? You're not alone, and you're in the right place. Tap into the next episode to hear Anna's journey and maybe start your own. And if this series is resonating with you, consider this your official invitation to join our community. At UnCeiling You, we don't just talk about growth, we build it together. I'm Natalie Luke, and I'll see you in the next episode.